Okay, well, let's get to it, because ever since Trump's tariff threats, there has been a growing push for making it a bit easier for us as Canadians to actually buy goods and services from each other. Now, Transport and Internal Trade Minister Anita Anand yesterday said that bringing down trade barriers between provinces could actually happen within the next 30 days. So is this conversation long overdue? What have we been waiting for, right? Yeah, what do you think, Farah?
No, this is wild. Just to put this into perspective for all of you, when I started my journalism career in the early aughts, this is one of the first stories I covered.
No way.
Yeah.
The fact that these existed?
The fact that it was so hard to have wine trade between Quebec and Ontario.
Yeah.
This is so long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we still haven't done it. And now Anita Anand says we can do it in 30 days. Like what?
How?
What am I missing here?
The 30-day part makes you almost wonder why it was implemented in the first place.
Well, you know what? It's like a national inside joke, to be honest. It really is.
Are you serious?
It is, because when you think that this is how I see it. Okay, so we all live in the same house, but there's a fence between the living room and the bedroom, and nobody can figure out how to get to the kitchen.
Okay.
Like, that's what it's like. It just doesn't, we're all in the same house.
That just sounds like Ottawa to me, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, sorry.
Well, no, and that's interesting. Like, to me, I was just learning all about this. I didn't realize how complicated this was, that in fact, the barriers range from differing health and safety regulations, as well as to the basics of the ingredients of a product that can sometimes be different from province to province.
Right.
Not to mention the alcohol and the wine. So there's just like so many things. I had no idea about it. But apparently part of the sticking point has been that, for instance, Ontario and Quebec, which you mentioned, they both have thriving industries, and they didn't want to come to the table to talk about it. And it isn't until Donald Trump has put these potential tariffs on that suddenly everybody's on the same page. So are we thanking Donald Trump for this?
Well,
Certainly fire, right?
I know. I mean, I've said it on the show before that nothing unites people quite like having a common enemy.
Yeah.
And so it has been a really unpopular idea to really open up trade truly between provinces and territories, because this was established all the way back at Confederation. So what premier has ever wanted to be like, you know what my issue is going to be when I get into office? I'm going to open up the Constitution. Like, I think that's been really unpopular. You can imagine, because it's like, who asked for that? And everyone's very insular. It's actually easier for many provinces to do businesses with other countries
Than it is
with our own next door neighbors.
Tax reasons? Like,
There's a lot of reasons.
So what were the reasons?
It's regulation. It is tax income. So here's an example.
Like you said, everybody wants
protectionism.
to
Everyone's insular.
business,
So here's a perfect example, and it's so stupid it's going to make you scream. So, for example, there is different regulations in Ontario and Canada, in Ontario and Quebec, between truck tire sizes. So, for example, in Quebec, you have this regulation that says you have to have this kind of tire for this kind of truck. In Ontario, we have a different regulation. So if you have a truck that has to transport goods from over here to over here, they either have to stop somewhere and change tires, so that truck can legally drive over the border to do a delivery. That is so stupid.
Yeah. It makes you go wild. But it also makes me wonder how many more stupid things there are that we just haven't thought about.
Yes.
But I will tell you that the swiftness and the teamwork at first is just like, go Canada. But I must admit, it also frustrates me with a little time, because now we know that, you know, we do associate Ottawa and our elected officials with maybe not being the quickest of doing things, but they just showed in this instance that in 30 days they can undo this, that it is possible, that essentially common sense can't work around bureaucracy. And so I find that really frustrating. You just proved to us that you can work together. You know, you needed this little push. It's almost like Trump. Say you're going to dismantle our healthcare and our education. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's see what happens.
Too, because isn't it true that, and you know more about this than I do, but isn't it true that also you cannot, if you are a doctor, you cannot go work in another province?
And forget even doctor, lawyer, there's so many professions like that where it's basically like you're writing your degree in crayon in another province. Like, you can't do that. I want to pick up on your truck example, though, because I think it's a really good one. So think about this. Think about the productivity that's lost when you have to change the tire or change the weight of a vehicle, right? And then think about the cost as well, because the cost will go up. There was a recent study said that it adds 8% to freight costs. So who do you think that's passed down to?
us.
Right. So all of this has been happening this whole time.
So I think if you drop a lot of these regulations, listen, there are some that are in place for a good reason, but there are some that sound ridiculous. And I think
arbitrary.
That seem a little arbitrary. And so I think Anita Anand said in her CBC interview that prices could come down because of these. If we can drop some of these regulations that don't make sense and improve transport, for example, between provinces and territories, we could be dropping costs by up to 15%, to which we would benefit, and we could actually boost our economy by $200 billion. Not my number, Anita Anand's number, $200 billion. So I think this is an untapped resource, and I like the idea of 30 days. Let's do it.
Provinces working together.
Let's do some other things too. Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.